Hey guys, and welcome to 5.1. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting polynomials. So let's first get started with talking about what polynomials are. Polynomials are any terms or any equation or expression that is added, subtracted. Like number one, you have two terms. The first one is x to the fourth. The second one is negative 5x. And you can have one term, you can have two terms, three terms. Each of those has special names. So one term is a monomial. Mono is the prefix for one. Two terms is a binomial with bi as the prefix. And then three terms is a trinomial, tri as the prefix for three. And then anything above three terms, so four terms and up, is just classified as polynomial. Polynomial is the umbrella term that works for all of them, 1, 2, 3, and multiple terms. On the first three, we're trying to figure out two things. First of all, what kind of polynomial is it? One term, two terms, three terms, or multiple terms. And then at the second part of the question is, what is the degree of the polynomial? So let's answer the first part of that first. So on number one, we have two terms. We know that because they're separated by either an addition or subtraction. And I got two terms here, so that is a binomial. All right, and then on 2 and 3, I only have one term. There's no following operation, so these are monomials. Okay, and then the degree of the polynomial is the highest exponent in the polynomial. So if you have one term, you're just looking for the exponent. And if you have multiple terms, you're looking for the highest exponent. And it doesn't matter if it's out front, in the back, or somewhere in the middle. I'm looking for the highest exponent in that polynomial. So on number one, the highest exponent is 4. So this is going to be degree 4. Okay, and then on 2, you have degree 6, because the highest exponent is 6. You only have the one exponent, but the highest exponent is 6. Okay, and then here, on 3, you don't have an x. Okay, so a couple things. If you see an x squared, you usually see the 2. If you have x to the first, you usually don't see the exponent. So if you have x squared, you usually see the 2 there. If you have x to the first, you usually don't see the 1. And then if you don't see the x at all, it's usually the x to the 0, because anything to 0 power is 1. And so this x to the 0 is 1. You don't usually see that. And so if you don't see if you don't see a variable at all, then that's degree 0. When I'm adding polynomials, the parentheses are really just for show. All right, so I'm going to drop the parentheses because when I subtract polynomials, I have to distribute that negative through the second parentheses. But when it comes to adding polynomials, I just drop parentheses and do the operations as they're written. So here, this is going to be 5x plus 3, right? Plus a negative is the same thing as subtraction. So you get minus 13x plus 2, and then I combine like terms. So I got a 5x here, 13x here, 3, and 2. Okay, so this is going to be 5 minus 13 is negative 8x, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, and then that's going to be it. All right, number 5, again, you have 8x squared plus 6x minus 9 plus 7x squared plus 3x minus 3. And you have a lot going on, so it might benefit you to go ahead and label all your like terms. Okay, so that's going to be 8 and 7 is 15x squared. 6 and 3 is 9x. Negative 9 and negative 3, that's going to be minus 12. Right, and there's your answer there. Now, just like when you were in grade school, you can add horizontally and you can do it vertically. So when you're adding polynomials vertically, you want to make sure that all your like terms all your terms are lined up on top of each other. So x squares on top of x squares, x cubes on top of x cubes, and so on and so forth. And if they're not, you might want to provide a gap. Like on 6, everything is just so. On 7, I don't have an x squared term in the second one, so I'm just going to drop it down, or rather, I don't have an x squared term in the second one, so I'm going to skip that term and write the x's over the x's, the constant terms over the constant terms, and so on and so forth. All right, so number 6, I'm just going to add my columns. All right, and so negative 6 plus 4, this is going to be negative 2x squared. 7 and 3, that's going to be 10x cubed. All right, and that's it. Easy peasy. On 7, 5 minus 7 is negative 2x cubed. All right, the negative 4x squared is just going to come down because there's nothing to go with. 6 minus 3, that's going to be plus 3x. And then negative 8 plus 6 is going to be minus 2. And literally, this is hard as it gets. Now, on 8, we're subtracting. And as I said before, when you're adding polynomials, you just drop the parentheses and get to work. But on 8, you need to be a little careful. You can drop the first one, so you got x squared minus 8x minus 6. But then as you drop the second one, you have to distribute that negative. So it's going to be minus 6x squared minus 6x and minus 5. Okay? Again, I would still take a second and check my like terms, make a note of them, because everything can get jumbled up. All right, and this is pretty tame compared to some of the ones that you're going to look at. So again, I would take the time, find my like terms, get rid of any that are going to fall out, and then take get rid of any that are going to fall out, and then take your time combining everything. All right, so you have x squared minus 6x squared, so that's going to be minus 5x squared. You get negative 8x, negative 6x, it's going to be minus 14x, negative 6, negative 5, that's going to be minus 11. Okay? There you go. And just with like addition, you can add and subtract vertically. You can do the same thing with subtraction. You can subtract horizontally or vertically. All right, so, however, because you have to change the signs, you might want to go ahead and change this to addition, so that would be plus, negative, negative, plus. Just change your signs. And so now that's 5 plus 7, so that's going to be 12. Negative 8 minus 3, that's going to be negative 11x. Plus, and then 2 minus 9 is going to be negative 7x squared. So that's how you do that. All right, number 10. It says subtract x cubed plus 7x squared minus 6 from the sum of 8x cubed plus x squared and negative x cubed minus 9x minus 4. So I've already written this out for you, but you have, you're adding your first two, and then you're going to subtract from that. So you want to work inside first, and then work out. So on the inside, let's see, I have x cubed, so I have some like terms, but really not much. I'm just going to drop the parentheses and get to work, but then I'm going to distribute that negative on the back end. So this is going to be 8x cubed plus x squared plus a negative is minus, that's minus x cubed, minus 9x, minus 4. I'm going to distribute that negative. So that's going to be minus x cubed, minus 7x squared, and plus 6. All right, again, this is a lot going on, so I'm going to take a second and find my like terms. So it's got x cubed here, here, and here. I have an x squared here and here. I have an x there by itself, and then I have a constant term there and there. Okay, so that's going to be 8 minus 1 minus 1. That's going to be 6x cubed, x squared, and that's going to be minus 6x squared, minus 9x, and that's going to be plus 2. That is how you add and subtract polynomials. Hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, please reach out, and I'll see you in the next video.